Are we all seeing this? This week was filled to the brim with absolute chaos. There were gloves flying into the crowd. We had an absolute brawl that went onto the bench. A Battle of Florida series that is completely out of control, helped by the officiating that is just something else this year. We've had several massive hits, some interesting warm-ups that is seeing the league handing out fines like candy. Landy scoring his first in over 1,000 days, as boy did we get some pretty ones this week, and some ugly as a possible return of the Winnipeg Frauds. And of course, the netminders made some incredible stops between the pipes, so from the highs to the lows, what's better than playoff hockey? Plenty to cover, so let's get to it with the nasty. And a big one this week was Game 3 Canadiens Capitals, probably the best playoff game yet, as this series has been electric. It felt like literally every whistle they were at each other's throats, as we also had both starting goalies get injured and leave the game. That was not pretty, but this was self-inflicted, and it's been cross-checks galore during these playoffs. Several from the Capitals this series, as they're just going uncalled, and I guess Strom got his guys mixed up. Buddy, we cross-checked the other guys. The Canadiens, though, have also been pretty pesky, clearly in their game plan, and it all came to a head in Game 3. With rush hour traffic, a flame was ignited as Anderson and Wilson wound up in the Capitals bench. They took the linesman for a ride, holding on for dear life as chaos broke out. It looked like 80s hockey out there, and then there's Leonard and Hudson. But Game 4 wasn't any different. Both teams physical. McMichael with the flying elbow. I mean, that's some 10 out of 10 Jacob Trouba form right there. Insane. Ovi also was a wrecking ball again. At the end of the second, he absolutely blew up Evans at the blue line. 5th interference call of the night, by the way. He also nearly sent himself into the Montreal bench with Carrier just ducking him, but he wasn't so lucky with Wilson, as my goodness, he absolutely demolished Carrier. And getting that empty net later, Wilson is just in full villain mode out there. Moving on, an interesting development this playoffs has been the warm-up shenanigans. They seem to be the only thing Bettman hates more than me. Oh, jeez. But we saw Cousins during warm-ups send some fairly harmless-looking pucks towards former teammate Stolarz, which landed him a fine and the Sens a fine. And then while Jackeye and Wilson were having a slapshot-style chat, the following game, it was Jackeye again making his presence known, but this time, Wilson trying to stir things up, and the Border Patrol were out there policing. Jackeye also turned back, and more fines. Both the Caps and the Habs now chipping in to fund, hopefully, the league buying the officials some LASIK, as what the hell is going on out there? No better example than the Battle of Florida. See, Tampa had a brutal start to this series. Despite being the top scoring team in the league this year, Nate Schmidt outscored their entire team through 2 games. So frustration setting in saw Hagel in Game 2 blow up their captain Barkov, who never even touched the puck. It's a nasty one, and he got a game for it, but it set the tone for Game 3. The Rat Pack making promises. Tkachuk, I want you. And so while Paul Maurice said the only players they hit are the ones who have pucks, remember that, because after Tampa's offense finally came alive, it was now Florida seemingly flustered, tempers flaring again, and so when the game was all but over, Matthew Tkachuk laid a devastating hit on Guentzel, open ice, late. Not as bad as the Barkov one in my opinion, but after the game,
the only players we hit are the ones with pucks.
As it's good to see the coaches going at it, but with the teams trading blows of retribution, this has reached a nasty stage in Game 4. Hagel was now back, and Ekblad knew it, giving him a little forearm shiver to the chin. Nasty work here, as Hagel would leave the game for the night and is out for the next game. Yet there was no call here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of you guys, and Coop couldn't believe what he was seeing. But the Cats weren't done yet, as next it was Girgensons face down. Nico Mikkola, looking at a vulnerable guy down on his knee, decided, well, they didn't call that on him, so surely this is fine. It's greasy. A dangerous hit that did receive a 5 and a boot. The third such instance in 4 games of this series, as I don't know if they're all going to make it out alive.
It's getting tiresome.
Then Dallas, Colorado has gotten spicy as well. This week we saw Gabriel Landeskog make his return after 3 years, and on the first shift he goes hunting down Mikko Rantanen. But No one had it worse than Bischel. He first would get smoked by Kevy Ranta, and on that same shift, he caught a puck to the jewels. These are not pretty, buckled him as oof. Game 4, though, Blackwell laid a massive hit on Lehkonen, and this is also where we saw a nasty cross-check to McKinnon go uncalled. I mean, these playoffs really are prison rules. Over in Minnesota, Foligno sent McNabb flying. What a hit from the Moose, and then in the third, after Boom sliced up Mark Stone, he went down and was leaking heavy. That could not have felt good, and then headed to St. Louis. It's been a grand old time. The Jets getting shelled back-to-back saw them frustrated back-to-back. In Game 2, Bolduc benched Appleton. He took his number and then mugged him. Lowry joined in, but whoop, did you see it? The mitt here got sent into the crowd, so after all was said and done, where's the glove? This guy's got it. Security came sniffing, and so he says, you want it, you got it. Moving over to the Battle of Ontario, this came shortly after Clevin laid a massive reverse hit on Lorentz. Damn. But the most impressive was Tkachuk in Game 4 eliminating Holmberg, leading directly to Perron going the other way to take the lead. And lastly, in New Jersey, I thought the Canes got the short end of this one. Timo Meier crashed in the net, ran into Anderson. He's well into his crease, took him out. He would leave the game, and after review, it wasn't even a minor penalty. And this could have huge implications as the Canes are already going to miss him for at least a game. But man, with that, let's lighten the mood a bit. And how about we talk about Landeskog for a moment? 3 years and 3 surgeries after we saw him last, Gabriel Landeskog worked his way back to the NHL and officially made his return in Game 4, where he scored his first goal in over 1,000 days. Tell me hockey's not romantic. What a moment. The boys were fired up on the bench. Just great stuff. Over in St. Louis, we had the return of Patty Maroon. Good to see him in his natural environment. The NFL's Commanders quarterback room was also learning what hockey's all about. We had Thompson learning we are in fact in the playoffs.
Luckily things went my way tonight and we got the 2 points.
And Matthews seemingly learning Benoit does speak French.
Non, c'est sûr que c'est mon premier but en série, surtout dans la Ligue nationale. Fait que c'est sûr qu'au niveau de ça, c'est le but.
Speaking of the Leafs, while they were unable to close out the sweep in Ottawa, they're still up 3-1. Surely there's nothing to worry about, right? Right? I'll tell you who should be, as what do we have here? The return of the Winnipeg Frauds. Back in playoff form, we're witnessing something truly incredible. The very likely Vezina winning goalie once again having playoff issues. 11 goals in 2 games, yanked in back-to-back games, as Panger, catching a stray puck here between the benches, had himself a better save percentage. I hate to do it, but man's having trouble out there right now. Then in LA, we saw the return of the harmonica ladies. But unfortunately, you can't take them with you on the road, and it's hurt them in Edmonton. While they were up in Game 3 with under 7 to go in the third, we saw Evander Kane score a greasy one. It was reviewed for kicking, but called good. And yet, they decided to challenge it anyway. A costly mistake, as the goal stood a second time, giving the Oilers a power play where they immediately took the game from under them. As boy, experience Edmonton Oilers hockey. Because in Game 4, once again falling behind, and once again Evan Bouchard, who has been lights out, got him within a goal. Then with the Kings sitting back once again, it was a matter of time, as it's who else but Evan Booch-Bomb Bouchard tying it up and forcing OT. Just the 4th D-man in NHL history with multiple tallies in back-to-back games, and Leon Draisaitl put the nail in the coffin in OT, sending this thing back to LA all squared up.
How do I change it? Next question. How about that?
The comeback Oilers. What a story. Headed back to Dallas, we had Jared Bednar and Barrett Jednar. Speaking of this series, though, let's get to the goalies. In Game 4, Jake Ottinger, despite making 31 saves on 34 shots through 40 minutes, he faced 21 shots in the second period alone. He was pulled to start the third. Tell me he doesn't look confused, as in Game 3, he also had a spectacular save on Brock Nelson, sprawling across to rob him with the block blocker beauty. Against the Oilers, it's Darcy Kemper who's been sensational. This is real footage of the man in Game 4. He was on an island back there, 44 shots faced, and stay in your... Yeah, I didn't think so. The man was just too dialed. Then there's Jordan Binnington, 13-0 at home, his last 13, and check out this ridiculous stop in Game 3. Rob's Perfetti blind. Wait, that had to be in, right? Well, it wasn't conclusive, and so it's a save. In Minnesota, it was Gustafsson with a little left pad larceny on Smith, and there's more where that came from. Come on. We also had the return of Bob Robski in Tampa. Great stop with the glove, snatching it out of the air. But in Jersey, in a frenzy, it was Freddie Anderson casually flashing the leather and robbing Timo Meier. Absolutely blind. Speaking of, Dobish in for Montembeault did the same on McMichael in Montreal. Just beautiful. Matching it on the other end, though, was Thompson kicking one out on Suzuki. And in Ottawa, we saw Linus Ullmark down and out catch a piece of it, but Clevin out of midair with a beautiful play to keep it out. And so, believe it or not, we did see some great goals this week, so let's finish this thing off. Starting in Edmonton, where the warm Corey Perry, are you kidding me? Plays a little catch with himself before batting it in. What a goal. Back to New Jersey, it was Slavin first batting the clear attempt, dancing around Nason, and then from an impossible angle beats Markstrom short side. My goodness. But you know what they say, no hand-eye, just tackle a guy. Hurdle, wrestling Hartman down, gave Stone a backboard as he banks it off of them and in. Back to Ottawa again, this was a pretty connection. Marner behind the net, catching Ullmark asleep at the wheel. He's looking right, and come on, what a shot right here. Another pretty connection was Laferriere for Fiala. Little alley-oop, and the finish, so nice. Byfield back in LA also had a beauty, walks right in, but look at the hand. Nasty stuff. And going back to Dallas, this one was bonkers. Blackwood with the initial stop loses it, and it goes up and over him, as that's one he wanted back, no doubt. But that will about do it for this one. As always, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it very much, and I will see you in the next one.